Time now to take a look at the international press with Antonio Carrigan. Antonio, starting with the ongoing protests in Iran, protests that are really gaining in size, involving all generations there in the country. What are the papers saying?
Well, let's start by looking at the front page of Emirati paper The National. Death toll doubles in Iran as protesters clash with police. Now, the inside pages of this paper quote one witness saying that law enforcement used Kalashnikovs in the environs of the bazaar where the protest was concentrated. The articles inside point out that these protests, although smaller than the Mahsa Amini protests, are carrying extremely powerful slogans directed at the toppling of the regime. They also come, of course, at a time when the regime is in trouble with this high inflation, still reeling from US strikes last year. And another thing that's taken into account in this analysis piece in Le Monde, while Iran is also being shaken by what's just happened in Venezuela, Le Monde has this headline, Iran on the verge of losing an economic and military ally. Now, this article says that although Tehran insists that their relations with Caracas are unchanged, the two countries have historically worked together to get round sanctions. It quotes some commentary from Tehran, a certain anxiety about recovering $2 billion that Venezuela owes to Iran, and they want it paid up because although they say relations are unchanged, they don't know what's next. This article also says that the abduction of Nicolas Maduro takes away the certainty that Tehran thought it had, that the Trump administration wouldn't intervene further in Iran. I'd also like to show you an open letter published in Le Monde from a Franco-Iranian academic. She points out that the fact that market sellers are at the centre of these protests, she says that's unprecedented. She says they're a conservative demographic, historically loyal to the regime, and their involvement is very significant. This letter is also a clarion call on Iranians to persist in this protest movement against the government.
Okay, now moving to the United States, and yesterday marked 5 years since the Capitol riots when those who believed Joe Biden had stolen the election stormed Congress in a violent protest. How did that date get reported, Antonia?
Well, I'll start by showing you a piece in the New York Times that has the headline, "Disgust over the January 6th is no longer partisan." You can see that image of a sort of reddened image of the Capitol building. Now, the article describes those riots as an event no one could have imagined 5 years ago, but heralding an era that hasn't yet ended. They say it was a turning point towards an even more lawless, in the words of the article, version of Donald Trump. And the article goes on to look back over those riots, the violence, the police beaten with their own batons, officers inhaling pepper spray into the lungs, and officers committing suicide in the weeks and months that followed. That's in stark contrast with the account that was published on the White House's own website yesterday. Rather an alarming post in its content, recasting those riots as a peaceful protest. This post says that the Democrats were the real insurrectionists that day for certifying the Biden victory, and that the rioters were mere trespassers, denied due process in subsequent legal proceedings, and imprisoned as political hostages by what they described as a weaponized Department of Justice under Joe Biden. The Wall Street Journal responds to that post on the White House website, describing a Democratic attempt yesterday in Senate to pass a resolution, what was supposed to be a bipartisan resolution, characterising those riots as an assault on democracy, a resolution that was blocked by Republican lawmakers, something Nancy Pelosi described as an attempt to rewrite history.
Okay, turning to some science news now, Antonia, and there's revelations about the life of a jellyfish.
Yes, this is a piece published by Le Monde about some Israeli marine biologists who dived in their scuba suits with stopwatches to measure the sleep cycles of a jellyfish. Now, of course, a jellyfish sleep can be recognised by the slowing down in those pulsations of what I can describe as the globular part of the jellyfish. It transpires that the jellyfish enjoys 8 hours of sleep at night and an early afternoon nap. So remarkably similar to the sleeping patterns of humans. I should specify the humans who don't work on the early shift at France 24. This is for the maintenance of their nerve cells, even though a jellyfish does not have a brain. Of course, the major limitation of this study is we don't know what happens to a sleep-deprived jellyfish. Does it make them hungry, angry, or something else entirely? So there you go.
Know what it does to me, but there you go. Snowfall, meanwhile, Antonia, across Europe proving a hazard for many travellers, wreaking havoc. It's even proven deadly, but it has delighted many others. So what are you seeing?
Well, so let's start with what's in the Parisien, some advice on how to get by. You've got a handy infographic on how to walk like a penguin, arms out to the sides, legs apart, small steps, sliding heels along the ground. And then I'll leave you with a nice cartoon by Matt. Here you have a mountain rescue dog addressing a mountaineer. Would you like some sparkling water? I'm doing dry January. On a serious but factual note, it is strongly discouraged to offer alcohol to someone at risk of hypothermia, and a note of caution with this cartoon, as dogs, in fact, cannot talk.
Antonia Kerrigan with our International Press Review. Thanks indeed for that. Time for a short break now. Back in just a few minutes.